Have you had your Grimace shake lately, Brandon? Have you had it? Or have you tried it?
I honestly have not.
I haven't either.
But you know who has? Mets baseball, dude. It's
Absolutely.
Hey Mets, go Grimace, deferred collusion, baby. Here
Yeah,
we are. Jesse Rowe, the king of Crespi,
that's
myself,
right.
Bullinger, your co-hosts. Deferred
Absolutely. That's
collusion.
right. Nobody is more sad. I'm very sad that Pride Month is over, but nobody is more sad about Pride Month being over than those gay Mets because they had a hell of a month, and we're gonna get to that. But first off, Brandon, how are you? I'm sorry that we're catching up a little late. We should have been caught up a few days ago, but better late than never, as they say.
It's exciting times. It's hot all over the country, but boy, is it hot in SoCal.
It is hot. It
Lot
is
to talk about.
fucking sweltering outside, to be honest.
Sweltering, dude.
Yeah.
And speaking of pride, filled with pride for our gay Mets.
Mhm.
Uh, Unfortunately, they had to switch that logo back, and a little bit of that juju wore off. I think they just lost a series to the Astros that was firmly in their grasp. But aside from that, it's looking
No, they
good.
had a great month, and it all started. The Mets were obviously off to a horrible start. Nobody was counting them. They were not counted in any sort of playoff discussions. Even their owner, Steve Cohen, before the season started, said when they traded it, they got rid of Max Scherzer last year, and they basically said, oh yeah, the timeline for us to be good is going to be about 2025, 2026. That was their timeline. That's what Max Scherzer said. And then all of a sudden, we enter June, and then Grimace, who is an internet, I want to say a horror meme in some regards. Like there are some scary Grimace videos out there if you haven't seen them.
That I would say he's a darling,
Yeah,
but either.
but I mean, he's a darling, and then he's also like if you watch TikTok enough, you'll see that there's like these like scary TikToks made about Grimace. They're pretty
Oh, I've
hilarious.
seen the, I've tried the shake. No, I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah,
kidding.
yeah. All of a sudden, Grimace comes out, throws out the first pitch, and then the Mets go on a run. They go 13-4 to end the month. Pretty impressive stuff. Do you think there's anything to this? Because it was almost too funny to me that was the thing that was uniting the team. But hey, whatever's gonna work at this point.
320 million dollars, whatever that Mets payroll is this year, and you get the Grimace bump.
Yeah,
You take it any way you can get it, but facts are facts. Frankie Lindor is playing like himself. A lot of guys on the team are actually playing up to the name on the back of the jersey. And if it just takes a little green Grimace, I don't even know what Grimace is supposed to be. I really don't, dude.
I don't either.
California raisins type thing. I don't know. The Grimace's magic is working, and I don't know. It's not the stupidest thing I've ever seen. I mean, the Angels won a World Series off the back of the Rally Monkey.
Right? Is he this year's rally monkey?
He is this year's Rally Monkey.
Yeah,
I would love to see just a bunch of Grimace shakes being whipped around. I can't
I know,
anymore, dude.
dude. Uh, where,
Another
where,
that started off real bad, Jesse. Sorry to interrupt you, and is now fucking hot. Them Astros, dude.
oh yeah. Well, they sort of slowed down the Mets, right? Because you just mentioned that. So here's the thing about the Astros. I'm glad that we didn't talk too much about Grimace. I really didn't want to focus on that too much. I just thought it was hilarious that was even a thing.
Got a half hour worth of Grimace material right
Yeah,
here.
I know.
Change your mind.
The Astros, I think that like you and I will both agree that they might be the favorites to win that division at this point. I mean, they were so bad to start the season. They've gone 9-1 in their last 10, and they've been really good the past like 20 games without Kyle Tucker, who's been down. Kyle Tucker, their best player this year by far. He was on his way to like honestly maybe winning MVP, like a dark horse MVP candidate, and then got injured, fouled the ball off his shin, and he's been sort of dealing with like a contusion complications or something like that. I don't know what's going on, but they've been really good.
Yeah, I think Bregman's been playing well. I mean, Altuve's kind of been good all season.
Yeah.
But
It's
I
the
think,
pitching.
yeah, took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think who's their guy? Is that Hunter Brown?
Well, that's the problem, is that they didn't have anything all year long. I mean, they were like getting nothing from their pitching all year long. Like they had a bunch of injuries. They had like McCullers hasn't even pitched yet. They had Framber go down. Luis, what's his name? Oh my God, I'm blanking on his fucking name right now. We're not experts, guys.
It's funny. I wanted to say Luis Castillo, and I don't know.
Garcia.
How about
yeah.
What?
Well, Luis Garcia, I think is his name. But anyways, the Astros rotation was like a mess. It was like in shambles, and I think that they've like stabilized it really well. Yeah. And I just am looking at this. I'm like, man, I'm just so disappointed in the Mariners, dude. Like they had this window to really like just destroy this division this year with that incredible pitching staff that they have, and they just make the weakest moves, dude. They just like make the most, like the least calculated, the most like safe and friendly and conservative moves that they can. They don't go for it. I would love to see the Mariners go after like a Luis Robert or something. Just go for it, man. Like, because this is like going to be your one shot. The 1 year the Astros are bad and like you only have a 3-game lead and you have the best pitching staff in baseball.
Well, I think you and I were not really ready to, sing the doom of the Astros yet. I think I think you and I both had a feeling that it was almost like unsustainable how bad they were playing.
Yeah.
There was too much talent that's produced for too long. And yeah, they're kind of playing, like I said earlier, to the back of the names of the back of the jerseys. It's cool to see a little bit of heat in that division because I'm not the biggest AL West fan. I think it's been really bad for a long time. But hey, Angels, I like to shit on you. Got a little heat going yourself. I think you're just what?
They're 7-3 in their last 10.
I think they just passed the Rangers in the standings, right? I think
no, they're 1.5 behind the Rangers right now.
Well, that's pretty insane too. Come on,
yeah,
Rangers. Do better.
Well. So here's the thing about this division. The Mariners are tied for the second best pitching in the American League. Second fewest. They're tied for the fewest amount of runs allowed. And then they are second worst in the American League in offense.
Wow.
How is that even possible, dude? Like they really just it's a lot of this is because is that their number one guy, I hate to say it, but Julio Rodriguez has been pretty bad. And that's a big part of this problem here is that he has not lived up to that hype that they were expecting. So I do think they were anticipating him being a star, but I think that part of being a star is that you need some protection in a lineup where, like, I'm sorry, Mitch Haniger ain't going to cut it. Mitch Garver ain't going to cut it. Like, they're good players, but they're not going to give you protection. Like Ty France, solid player. They have a bunch of solid players. None of them are enough to like protect a superstar.
Yes, I completely agree. And it's hard to kind of be a superstar, like you're saying, without the ancillary pieces. Jordan had Pippen. I can go on, but anyways.
Well, we're gonna get to that. I know where you're going with that.
I know. I'm just saying.
No, it fits into the same argument we're gonna make. Look at what's happening with Kelenic, Jared Kelenic in Atlanta, where. What happened in Seattle with him? He was so bad he couldn't do anything. Him and Julio Rodriguez should have been like a 1-2 punch in that lineup. He got traded away for peanuts to the Braves, and he's filling in for Ronald Acuna Jr. right now pretty damn well. He's actually playing very well, and he was never better than he's ever played in his time in Seattle. There's something going on with their hitting development there in Seattle where they should be getting more than what they're getting. I mean, even Ty France, I know that like the underlying stats are pretty good for Ty France. From what I understand, his expected numbers are way better than his actual numbers. So he's been kind of unlucky, but that's not the same. That's not the same for Julio Rodriguez. So something's going on there where like, dude, you had this window to really run away with this division this year. And all you needed was like a mediocre offense, and you have one of the worst in baseball. That's like unacceptable, dude. We're halfway through the year. It's unacceptable.
We're dancing around it, right? I mean, it goes
terrible ownership.
There you go. Literally words out of my mouth. I mean, to not support a star like J-Rod, you've already put your money, down, and you're getting away pieces like Kelenic, and you're talking about like, oh, we're shooting for 85 wins. Was it 85? Like
The 86. If they get 86 wins, they're like,
sell them short.
yeah.
But we're talking about, is there a problem in Seattle? And it's like, yeah, the winning isn't a priority. And you can see the guys on the field doing their damnedest. And it's pretty damn good. They're leading the division, but like we've said, 3 games is a pittance.
No, especially with how good the Astros
are being so shitty all year.
Yeah.
They should have a 7-game lead, a 6-game.
They should.
Going into the All-Star break, whatever. But I really hope they're active. We got 30 days of the trade deadline.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to see Seattle wake up those bats and become, the fully well-rounded team that we've, I don't know, I think all been expecting for what feels like a half decade now. I don't know, but
that pitching is so gross, dude. Like Logan Gilbert, Luis Castillo, Brian Wu. Oh my God, what's the white guy? Who's their fucking Greg Maddux guy? I'm blanking on his name right now.
Oh, fuck. No, I don't know.
I'll tell you right now. Anyways, their pitching is so good that there's no reason why they should be in this situation. Because when you have that kind of pitching where it's like the second best in the league, and you have like the second worst offense, what that says to me is that like you didn't put a priority on winning this year. Like you said, if like how good this pitching is, you didn't put a priority on George Kirby. Sorry, George Kirby. You didn't put a priority on like making sure that this was the year. You knew that the Astros were going to take a step back.
Well, let's be honest. This isn't just a Seattle problem. We saw this across the league. It was an unprecedented, weird offseason. Like these teams aren't profitable every year. And that's the thing that drives me nuts, right? These are all billionaire owners who own these multi-billion-dollar franchises, and they're afraid to spend a couple $1 million on a player. And it's like, there's so many of those guys like around the league that help your team get better, that maybe don't have the best stat line. That's cool. And though you got to have a lineup of like filled with like, your Jason Haywards or whatnot, but you need your sluggers, right? You need your top of the order stars. And like, this isn't basketball or football where you can get maybe a marquee guy or two and, make a good system. And, there you go. Like, we got it. It's a all hands on deck, and truly, you're only as strong as your weakest link on any given time. So
that's why the Dodgers are good, because they know they have weak players, but like none of them, all of our weakest players, guys on benches, we still need to use them. Like at some point, there is not a wasted roster spot. Some of these teams, they just waste roster spots. It's just a mistaken version of baseball. Like it's old school in a way, and it's kind of like outdated. And
it's not baseball at all. It's business ball. It's like, how do I get the most adequate product while we're in this rebuild or whatever, so that we keep fans coming and tuned in and selling merch and whatever. But I mean, how many teams that are non-competitive do you see selling merch of an opposing team to try and
But that's the point. The Mariners aren't in a rebuild. They're in their window.
Which is crazy.
And it's like, and I know that we're talking about a team that's 3 games in first place right now. So it's like, wait, what are they doing so wrong? It's like, that's not the point. What we're saying is like, look at the division that they're in. There's clearly a team that's coming for them, and it's the Astros that have been there every single year for the past decade. So you have to, or whatever it is, 7 years that they've been in the ALCS. So it's like, you have to capitalize on the time that they're not good, and they just didn't do it. And it reminds me of the next thing that we're going to talk about here, because we were off air. We were talking about the Chicago White Sox and just how they were almost like the Mariners in a way, where they were everybody back in 2022 thought that they were going to be like the next big team, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, Tim, this is kind of like the final stage. We're seeing the final pieces fall from that little
end of the Chicago White Sox. I don't know. Do you want to call it the Great White Hope of Chicago?
There you go. Sure. Well, Tim Anderson, he just got DFA'd by the Marlins, and he was a huge piece there in Chicago for a while. Won 2 batting titles, was it?
What year was it?
I know he won a batting title. I don't know. He might have won 2.
It was just one.
Maybe I'm thinking of Arias. I don't know. Anyways, so he got DFA'd by the Marlins, and there's been a bunch of talk is that he's been the worst player in baseball since he got knocked out by Jose Ramirez in that brawl last year.
In fact, he was the 2019 batting champion.
Okay, thank you. Well, he has not homered since he got knocked out by Jose Ramirez during that brawl last year.
And he had 4 consecutive seasons of 300, of hitting 300.
So and then now look at the player he is now.
DFA'd from the Marlins.
Yeah.
And Jesse, sorry, go back to your
and point. He got and everybody's like saying that, oh, it's like because of the Jose Ramirez effect. When he got punched, he got embarrassed on national TV. That he's been the worst player in baseball. He hasn't homered since then, by the way. He has 0 home runs since he got knocked down by Jose Ramirez. It's not a good look, obviously. But I think that this is not an example of Tim Anderson being a bad player or Tim Anderson being a getting humiliated by Jose Ramirez. I think this is an example of Tim Anderson playing for 2 garbage franchises.
Yes.
And that just do not know do not use their finances and their resources in the right areas. They put it all in the wrong areas. And this is the result that you're going to get. You have a guy that should be hitting 300 because he's done it before. And the second that his athleticism starts to slightly drop, all of a sudden he's the worst player in baseball. That doesn't make any sense to me. And I think that this goes back to his time in Chicago with the White Sox, because that 2022 season was sort of when this all started, right? Like everybody was picking them to be a World Series team that year. And then they were just one of the worst teams in baseball.
An absolute World Series favorite. I mean, you see the pieces traded off around the league now, Dylan Cease is in San Diego. There were reliever arms, like Joe Kelly or whatever. He's a dog. Yeah. But, I mean, Jerry Reinsdorf, former owner of the Bulls, or current owner.
I don't know if he still owns the Bulls or not. Just Jerry, Bulls owner. Yeah, he still owns the Bulls.
Well, that explains it.
Yeah.
He is I don't know. I don't want to put it all on him, but it feels like I got to. He's the reason why Tim Anderson is where he's at.
Yeah, I agree.
He was this cornerstone of the franchise, batting champion, looked so damn good in that uni. And I feel like that franchise not just turned its back on him, but like shitted on him all the way to the end. And I'm not saying the fans, but it was one of those things I feel like he got hung out to dry. I don't even know, like the whole fight thing. I know Ramirez was saying, no, we don't like the way you play ball. There was some other tit for tat stuff. But my point is, when you're on a franchise that you're expecting to win and you're not getting that support, you have a lame manager from a bygone era who doesn't represent any of the, modern players like acumen or like, even just like drive. I think there was I think Lance Lynn was on foul territory. Maybe it was last year or earlier this year, preseason. But just talking about how there was just no expectations in Chicago. Like,
right,
guys kind of just showed up, did their thing, but there was no expectation to we're here at this time. There was no White Sox way, if you will. And I can see a guy, like Tim Anderson getting incredibly frustrated, and it makes him a bit more of an agitator on the field. And I don't know, maybe I'm being too forgiving, but I see this clear path from, I don't know, Reinsdorf to La Russa to J-Ram fight to, I don't know. Jesse, am I being a little silly?
Here's how I would put it.
Anderson enough credit for just being bad?
Well, no, he definitely is he deserves some of the blame for why he's played bad, no question about it. But I think that it comes down to good players are sometimes only as good as their surroundings. There are some guys that are just gonna overcome the odds, right? Those are special players though. Tim Anderson is a good player. He's just not a super special one who can overcome bad situations. We have great players like that all the time. I mean, Juan Soto was awesome in Washington when they were terrible. You know, like there are guys like that all the time. Tim Anderson is just like good, but you go from good to bad like that. That says to me that there's something going on. And I think that with
If I may,
Reinsdorf,
not just good to bad, from good to the worst.
right, exactly. And a batting champion to the worst. So Jerry Reinsdorf is an example of one of these guys that had success in an old school era where they were like one of the best at what they did. And then they never let go. And then they think that they can keep reinventing the wheel, doing the things that they've always done. Goes out and hires Tony La Russa to be the coach of this team, of like this like new school with this level of expectation too. Like they were expected to win the World Series, and
I wouldn't
go
give
in
La
La
my
Russa.
car keys, dude.
Yeah.
Let alone my fucking managerial position.
It's like, and I understand Bruce Bochy just won the World Series. I get that. So people are going to like reference that, but like, I think it's a totally different situation. It's every situation matters here.
Anybody would confuse Bosch for
Yeah.
fucking La Russa, dude.
And, you know, it's all you have to look at is like, look at what's happened to the other players too. I mean, Lucas Giolito hasn't been the same since the sticky stuff cracked down. He was never able to figure it out. Jose Abreu was like really good, and then all of a sudden he just like wasn't. He won an MVP in 2020. He was never the same after that. Goes to the Astros. He just got DFA'd. You've got God, who else was on that team? I'm sorry. You have like their prospects: Andrew Vaughn, Gavin Sheets, Kopech. These guys that were supposed to be like the next young crop of prospects. They never really panned out. Luis Robert, injury prone. Eloy Jimenez, injury prone, never hasn't been the same. All of these players, there's like a common theme that they just kind of never really put it fully together. I mean, fuck, dude, even Liam Hendricks got cancer, bro. I mean, it's like, I'm not going to blame them for that, but like,
Right.
Yeah.
You're not wrong, dude.
That's how bad it all was.
This is deferred collusion. We are finding those threads from basketball royalty, Michael Jordan's, the demise of his championship Bulls at the hands of this asshole, Jerry Reinsdorf. That thread stretches all the way through to Tim Anderson getting knocked out, DFA'd, Liam Hendricks getting cancer. Our pets' heads are falling off.
Yeah. Don't blame Tim Anderson getting knocked out. Blame Jerry Reinsdorf and blame that organization. Because that's
collusion for you.
And the Marlins too. Just these garbage organizations that they don't know what to do with good. They don't know what to do with like solid players. They just don't know what to do with them. They don't know what to do with
think of where a guy like maybe like Jazz Chisholm would be if he came up with, I don't know, the Cardinals instead of the fucking Marlins. You know what I mean?
Shit.
I mean, the Rays playing with Randy Rosarena, to be honest. I don't know.
If he never got traded by the Diamondbacks, he'd probably be way better. You know? Speaking of, by the way, Tim Anderson, crazy stat about him, his June. Did you read off his stats in June?
No. Hit me with him.
He played 21 games in June. He had 20 hits with a 238 average, a 238 on base, and a 238 slugging.
That's
so insane. Yeah. He literally did nothing except hit singles. Like nothing.
All right, I got it. So yeah, dude. So from May 26th to June 5th.
Yeah.
It was 2 for 28.
Yeah.
June 11th to the 21st, 17 for 42.
Okay.
Okay. But the rest of the month, he went 2 for 27.
Yeah.
And in that time, this is pretty ugly, Jesse. In that time, he had 28 Ks and only one walk. That's 98.
Yeah. You can't strike out that much if you're not homering and not walking. You just can't do
all singles, dude. I mean, it's a bummer. And you know, it's funny. He was a guy that I was like, man, think of him in a Dodgers uniform or a Yankees uniform. I was like, this guy is, you know, the next it guy. And now we're talking about Tim Anderson in 2024 being DFA'd from the fucking Marlins. God.
That was my next question for you. If you're, as a Dodger fan, if you found out that the Dodgers, because right now Mookie Betts is going to be out probably another 4 weeks at least. And would you be okay with them taking a flyer on Tim Anderson to come in and maybe play some second base or some shortstop?
Why
Like
not? We already got Chris Taylor. They're doing.
I mean, I feel like they could maybe tap into something. I don't know. Like, would it be worse than Taylor?
Who knows? I'm not against it, but it's one of those times, dude. Like, oh man, you got me bummed talking about a Mookie injury. Speaking of Mookie's injury, Jesse, we started this year as a damn epidemic of arm injuries. Tommy John, just you get Tommy John, you get Tommy John. Now we're freaking getting nailed by high heat left and right.
Oh, so that's the new one.
Busted hands, dude.
Yeah.
You got Mookie, Tatis. Who else am I missing? I know I got Vladdy took one off the fingers. Judge took one off the hand. I mean, who else am I missing?
Tatis, Josh Young started. I think Josh Young was like the first one this year. Yeah, Corey Seager. Josh Young, though, he got hit in the wrist like to start the year, I think, if I'm not mistaken. That the Reds prospect stud Christian Encarnacion Strand, he also suffered it. Isn't this how Altuve got knocked out of the World Baseball Classic last year, and he was out for like 6 weeks to start the season or something? Isn't that what happened? Or like 2 months?
I think
that's
so.
What happened. Yeah, he got hit in the wrist in the World Baseball Classic last year. So why do you think this is? Because it's not like hit by pitch is like a new thing in baseball, but with the increase in velocity, it's obviously more dangerous than it's ever been to get hit by a pitch.
I'll tell you what it is right now, dude. This is a quick one. Sticky stuff.
It's the sticky icky?
The lack thereof, or maybe an inconsistent sticky substance.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a proponent for a league-wide mandated, like, this is what you use, right? It's in a little thing, you rub it on. Delightful. Cool. Throw the ball. But because we don't have that, we got guys trying to figure out. And look, balls are going to run. You're throwing a pill. I get it. It's hard. But it does seem like there is a little bit of, I don't know if it's guys trying to get more like revolutions on the ball, if it's a spin rate thing, if it's just a velocity thing. But yeah, it does seem like the ball is starting to get away a little bit. And
well, here's the thing. I, according to like every significant research that's been done, there's not like any sort of significant increase in hit by pitches.
Jesse, can I tell you a deferred collusion thing real quick?
Yeah.
Doctors told us for years smoking was A-okay, dude. Ask our friends at Winston-Salem, dude.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 doctors prefer the smooth, cool smoke of a Winston-Salem. But go back to it, Jesse. That's just some deferred collusion.
But you're not wrong, because when you're asking guys to throw super hard, and then like I'm also going to take away the sticky stuff. Just remember this, like basketballs are all the same. Footballs are all the same. Obviously, like they get changed by the elements a little bit from like the rain and the snow, unless you're Tom Brady and you're deflating the ball and all that shit. But like they're all the same. Golf balls are all the same. Baseball is the only sport in the world where the ball that they play with, the item that they use that you need to score points in a game, is always different. Every single one of them is different than the previous one. It's the only sport in the world where they do that, where like the consistency and the texture and everything is different than the previous one that was used. Like in a basketball game, you're using the same one all game long. In a football game, you're using the same one with the same air pressure all game long. In hockey, you're using the same puck size, the same amount, like rubber all game long. There's nothing put on it to change the consistency of it. Where in baseball, they're rubbing this mud from a river in Delaware that like changes the consistency of every single ball. And so they're all different. And then they crack down on sticky stuff, and then they just expect pitchers to like always keep it under control, to be able to throw the ball the same way each time. Like, I'm sorry, there's no physical scientific way you can do that. unless you allow people to have a certain consistency of the grip that they can manufacture. If you can manufacture grip with something, some sort of attack, then maybe you can overcome that. But if you're doing nothing to offset it, then you're just kind of like, hey, sorry, hitter, if you get hit in the face, not our problem. Hey, sorry, pitcher, if your arm blows out, not our problem. It's like, actually, it is. You can do something about it. You can, like, you're the ones changing the ball texture, not the players. So it's
and to your point, we've seen guys do something about it, right? Josh Hader got a ton of shit for how he decided to pitch that ultimately led him to getting traded to San Diego and led him to a pretty damn handsome contract with the Astros.
Well, yeah, you know what's happened since he got that contract, right?
Well, I think he's been better lately.
He's pitching 2 innings now. He's willing to go more than 3 outs, by the way. Now he's got the money, so, you know. It was smart, like very smart, by the way.
It's almost like we're living in a capitalistic society where a guy takes a temperature of the room and sees hyper talented pitchers blow their arms out and then convert to being relievers or leave the sport altogether. I mean,
we talked about this though. I think a lot of the reason why Hader was doing that because of how the Brewers were handling him. Because remember, they were putting him in like the 4th inning in that 2018 NLCS, and then they were also putting him in the 9th inning. It was just weird role play.
What was the final straw for that was when they went to arbitration.
Yeah.
And basically told him, well, you don't have these saves and you don't have that. And he goes, well, you're using me in this and that. And now you're telling me that that's actually a detriment to my.
And that was intentional, dude.
Financial, yeah. So it is intentional. You and you know, at Deferred Collusion Podcast, you will not find us being real cheerleaders of many ownership groups, and it's for shit like this. You know, it's just
dude.
Fancy little and look, you can go, well, that's just how business is done here in the league. I get it, whatever. I kind of think it's a cop-out, but this is what you get. You get guys being labeled, oh, they're not a team guy because, I don't know, they don't want to risk having 2 Tommy Johns like under 25, you know? No disrespect. I love my Walker.
Look at Bueller right now. Walker Bueller was the ultimate team guy. He pitched on like 3 days notice and like multiple playoffs, like 2021. And he blew his arm out for a second time, and here he is. He hasn't looked great, and he went on the IL again. And it's like he's in a contract year. His money is officially at risk. He's never going to get paid the contract that if he had just taken it easy, you know, like fakes an injury, he could have made $200 million. You know,
Mike Soroka, right? He was like a Cy Young contender just a few years ago with the Braves, and now he's pitching cleanup with the White Sox. Did look great against the Dodgers. I'm not knocking it.
Yeah,
I'm saying the road to even come back, you got to go back with these lesser franchises. No disrespect, with these guys that are in rebuild. And again, we've talked at length today about how much onus is on the individual. Well, then why are we mad at them for trying to protect themselves? And this comes back to the sticky stuff at large. The league needs to do better and just provide for these guys so it's a even playing field and, I don't know, a little bit safer for everybody.
Yeah, and I thought guys like who were complaining about it at first. I remember when they were like, "Oh, I want to be able to control the ball better. You know, that's why I think we should have sticky stuff." I thought it was like a bullshit excuse, but then the more you just look into it about how they rub the baseballs and stuff, and you know they rub them balls. Have you ever watched the documentaries on how they rub balls before games? I mean, there is literally no rhyme or reason to it. It's just like they just dip their hands into some mud and they just rub it up and they throw it into like a blender thing, like this thing that spins them around, and then that's it. And it's like, okay, well, if a guy throws a pitch and then some of the mud gets ripped off, then all of a sudden you have one giant spot on the ball that is different than the rest of it. And it's just like, it's just not safe for guys to be throwing 102 miles an hour and doing that. Last thing I want to get to is James Wood, who was the third piece that went to the Washington Nationals in the Juan Soto trade. He just got the call up. He got a single. It is his major league debut yesterday or 2 days ago. when you're seeing this. So he's expected to be a stud. The Nationals, now they have James Wood, Mackenzie Gore, and CJ Abrams from that Juan Soto trade. And it just got me thinking because they all look like they're going to pan out. And then you have Josiah Gray and Keibert Ruiz from the Max Scherzer, Trey Turner trade from the Dodgers. Josiah Gray has not been good. He has an ERA over 5 over the past 3 years since he got traded. And Keibert Ruiz is he's been okay. He's been a decent player, but he has not been what he was the number 1 prospect for the Dodgers at one point. He has not been that. Do you think that the Padres might have gotten swindled a little bit in that Juan Soto trade and that they might be regretting that one?
Man, it sure does feel like it. And I don't know if swindled is the right word because, at the time, I was like, whoa, I am very impressed.
Grabbing another beer while you're talking.
You know what, dude? But I was very impressed with Preller at the time and just thinking dude, this is a guy this is going to sell tickets, this is going to get him wins. And just in that lineup at the time, you're looking at the time, Tatis, Soto, Machado. Man, good luck. That was as big a top 3 as anybody in baseball. But now, Tatis, like we said, a guy getting hit by a ball. Machado.
He also hasn't been the same since he tested positive for PEDs. I'm going to digress with that, but
whoopsie, dude.
Am I wrong? Has he been the same player since he tested positive for PEDs? He is not.
It was ringworm, right?
Yeah, he was ringworm. Yeah, that's right. He was taking that. No, was he? He was taking what would a female what was it that Aurelvis Martinez was taking?
It was female fertility drugs.
Yeah. That was Manny Ramirez, and then Aurelvis was just taking a fertility drug. Yeah. Anyways,
my stance as a Dodger homer, dude, Manny didn't do it. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, Manny. Hey, if there was one guy that clearly did it, it was probably Manny Ramirez.
Right, definitely.
Yeah,
but I don't think that they got fleeced, but they were absolutely the losers of that trade.
It's worth noting one thing before you continue. Dodgers and the Padres have had similar results in terms of playoff success since those 2 trades went down. Dodgers have gotten bounced in the NLCS. Padres have gotten bounced in the NLCS. I would say Padre fans would argue is worth it because they beat the Dodgers in the playoffs with Juan Soto. So okay, if that's your barometer for success, that's fine. I'm not going to argue with you. Totally legit. I get it. But if your barometer for success is hey, those players have to turn into long-term success as well. Well, the Nationals are going to be better off long-term than the Padres are. Definitely. That's the argument I'm making. So,
and I think you can, and back to your point, who got the worst end of it? Padres. They gave up more. Dodgers gave up at the time high prospects, but Keibert blocked by Will Smith, your boy Jurickson Profars, good buddy. And since we're talking about Keibert Ruiz in the Nationals, let's just talk about Jurickson Profar. That guy hates catchers, dude.
Yeah, he does not like him.
I think he does owe Will Smith a steak because since his beef with Will, Profar has been the best Padre.
Dude, he's arguably been the best outfielder in baseball in the National League this year. He's been one of the top 3 outfielders in baseball.
I think you could say he's been the best left fielder in baseball this season. And that's a guy who 29 teams go, I'm good. Dude, I would love to see him play for the Dodgers right now, batting 3-something. But I think the Padres are paying $1 million maybe this year.
That's a good question. Jurickson Profar contract. I'll look it up for you while you're talking.
So my point is the guy's got 10 years in the league. He was a super highly touted prospect.
He was the number 1 prospect in baseball at one point.
Yeah,
for the with Texas. Texas. Yeah.
And it didn't work out, it seems like maybe the Will Smith comments were the bulletin board material he needed, but damn. Did it get a little hot with them Nats and Keibert Ruiz putting his hand on his shoulder?
Yeah, so I got to say this about that. That was kind of the way that the Nationals reacted to that. That's kind of what losers do a little bit. You know what I mean? Huh?
Did their reaction feel like I don't know, like a little bush league to you?
Yeah, it was like you're mad because he's celebrating in front of his fans. Like because he was celebrating a little bit too extensively in front of the Padre fans and stuff. Like you're mad about that. You feel like
Well, weren't they saying I forget who the Nationals player was. I believe that there was an interview and they were saying maybe that there was some family members of Nats players in the general vicinity that maybe or the specific vicinity
so
profile.
they thought that he was directing it to them.
That's what they felt like was the gist of the look and stare down and celebratory.
So
How do you like a baseball pod using the word gallivanting? Don't forget to like and subscribe.
yeah, that makes me. Did you watch Did you finish Game of Thrones?
The original or
the original? Yeah,
I did.
there's a scene in season 6, I think it is when they introduce Greyjoy. What's his name? Not Theon, but the bad cousin.
Uncle.
Euron. They introduce Euron, and Theon is there. They're electing a new king of the Iron Islands, and and then Euron is like, and then Theon Greyjoy goes, while Euron was off gallivanting across the seven seas.
Euron was out whoring and gallivanting.
Yeah.
And
then he goes,
true Ironborn.
He was like, we were here being Ironborn. And then Euron goes, gallivanting. That's a big word for somebody with no cock.
Deferred Collusion.
That was when Game of Thrones started going downhill. That was because end of season 6 is when it all started to happen. Okay, so yeah, that started because, sorry, I pulled up an article about it. I just totally lost my train of thought.
Yeah, dude, you're the worst.
The Nationals apparently felt that Profar trolled them after hitting a walk-off 2-run single. This is a terrible article. There's literally no description on it. So he felt like they were trolling him. Yeah. And that Profar ran to the team celebration, then jogged along third base side, clapping to the fans, passing the Nationals dugout along the way. So that it was like directed at the Nationals and that he was using the fans as like cover for really directing it at the Nationals and maybe some of the Nationals family behind the dugout. It makes sense, but
he's being a little bit of a stinker.
I think he is a little bit of a bitch, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that it's hard to say he's not a bit of like a little like bitchy, like
he's a pest.
Do you remember who were they playing? Who were the Padres playing? He was in left field and he got the ball and he was like, go, like I dare you to run.
Yeah. No, I got a better one. He was facing the Dodgers. Kershaw was on the mound and he struck out to end the inning. It was like Kershaw got out of a big jam, and what Profar did, the ball had already passed home plate, and then Profar swipes his bat down on Austin Barnes' glove to get catcher's interference. And it was like kind of looked a little intentional. Like it was like, okay, this is almost like you can almost get away with some cheating if you do this, right? Like the ball's already past home plate, and then you just swipe down like you're going to swing at the catcher's glove, and then you just get first base. So Kershaw was kind of accusing Profar of
that's bullshit. I remember it was like a direct
he was accusing Profar of some funny business there, and then Profar was like, what do you want me to do? I'm grinding here, man. I'm grinding. I'm trying to, I think that like Profar is kind of a pest, and I think Machado is kind of a pest. I think that like that team is kind of full of guys like that.
Yeah,
and I think that's the problem with the Padres is like every team needs one player like that. They don't need 5 like that.
That's a good point.
And I think that's kind of like the problem that the Padres have. There's not a lot of like high quality leader characters on the team. There's a lot of like egos and kind of like, they're hard nosed players, but some of them are kind of punks.
Definitely. I agree. So, I agree with that.
But I like Profar a lot. I think he's been great. Like, I just want to say, like, Dodger fans probably think that we're hating because we're Dodger fans. Yeah, we are hating. That's fair. But
I'm not hating. I actually like.
I think Profar's legit.
Like, dude, I was a fan of Carlos Gomez. You know what I mean?
That's a great comp, by the way. Carlos Gomez and Profar. I like that.
I mean, Gomez, I think his ceiling was a little bit higher.
Well,
But
Profar 314, 408 on base, 478 slug, 884 OPS, 11 homers and 55 RBIs in 86 games. I mean, shit, he doesn't strike out a ton. He walks a lot. Good player, man.
yeah. Hey, Prof, here's a little tip of the cap from a Dodger fan, dude. You're having a hell of a season, and it's fun to watch you play.
Hey,
Stir in the pot, dude. It's fun.
yeah. Although I want to end on one thing here because we're out of time. This has been gone a little long, but it was Bobby Bonilla. Happy Bobby Bonilla Day. We missed it.
Hey,
Happy Bobby Bonilla.
Deferred collusion.
I mean, he's kind of like the poster child for deferments for the next like 6 years until Shohei Ohtani's 10 years are up with the Dodgers, and then it's $68 million a year for 10 years. And then that whole game changes, So let's say this. So him and Chris Davis both had their payments along with Ken Griffey Jr. I don't know why it's July 1st, but they all have it as July 1st. Why is that?
I feel like the Reds don't ever get shit for Griffey. But then again, I wonder how much they make every year in Griffey, like jerseys.
Well, I think it's more so just like, this is why people fucking were being ridiculous giving shit to the Dodgers and how they were doing things. It's like so many of these teams have been doing this for so long. And the fact that we literally have like some of the worst contracts ever, like Chris Davis getting paid this much money, one of the worst contracts ever for like the next 7 or 8 years. It's like, okay, and you're mad about the Dodgers doing it for Shohei Ohtani? Like, please give me a fucking break. I want to just read you some stuff about this Chris Davis deal. It's so funny. I have some stuff pulled up on it. Give me a second. Where is it? Okay, so today is the day that we stand in awe of one of Major League Baseball's most celebrated contracts when New York Mets agreed to defer what money they owed Bobby Bonilla. That payment is $1.19 million every July 1st through 2025. Ken Griffey Jr. and the Reds have reason to celebrate as well. This is the final payment for Ken Griffey Jr. of a deferral of $57.5 million over 16 years, which comes with a final check of $3.6 million.
Congrats to the kid.
Yeah. For Chris Davis, he got paid $9.16 million yesterday. Oof. And starting in 2026, he will receive $3.5 million per year for the next 7 years. So he will be paid until 2043.
Nice.
I'm sorry, 2033. Sorry. And then that's when the Shohei deal ends. And then then that's all kiddie games. And then Shohei is going to get $68 million a year.
God, dude, that's going to ruin the Dodgers.
Yeah. So that's just a little fun little thing to note because.
So Jesse, let me ask you this. We're talking about deferred money. Which one of these players that we've talked about today do you think has had the biggest impact on their franchise? Who do you think is hurting their franchise the most?
Chris Davis is for sure hurting the Orioles. Griffey, I think that they reaped some rewards in terms of like jersey sales and stuff. I think that they really did well with their merchandise and stuff. I think they got a TV deal boost from that. Maybe I might be wrong on that. Bobby Bonilla, though, I feel like the Mets, like that's like kind of ingrained with their whole thing. I feel like Bobby Bonilla is like, it's a good thing to have Bobby Bonilla on the books. I feel like it's a good thing for these teams to have this because then it's like, it lets other organizations know like, hey, like we might not be able to give you all this money at once, but we'll pay you for a long time if you sign the deal. So
maybe Bobby Bonilla has been the Bambino curse, but for the Mets.
It's a good question.
Like, win a World Series so Bobby Bonilla's paid off.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do, but they've got other problems because they even though they're playing well, they got to re-sign Alonso. They got a whole bunch of other stuff to do, but yeah. Anyways, just loved that. I just always love when Bobby Bonilla's check comes home to roost because it's best contract of all time. So.
I love it. And you know what, dude? Before we go, I know the last time we talked, we're both Lakers fans, and you were having a little bit of a tough time watching those Celtics get a championship. But I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about Bronny James, dude? Your new Laker, the most exciting pick since our boy Kobe
That's
Bryant,
a dope shirt.
my boy Kobe, my Manila Mamba in a Barong Tagalog, one of my favorite pieces of clothing for the Philippines.
It's a dope shirt. I love. I mean, I'm mixed on it. Like I do. Were there other players probably more deserving that could have been given opportunity? Yeah, most likely. I'm sure there were. I think like he got like a multi-year guaranteed contract. Did you see that? Like, which no 55th pick will ever get. Like ever. He's clearly getting like some nepotism money from that. Like clearly LeBron is influencing the Lakers to give him a guaranteed contract, which is hilarious because I don't know how many minutes this guy's going to get. He's probably going to start in the G League. Like he's not a top prospect in any regard. But at the same time, it's a good story. You know, hey, like one of the best players of all time, it gets to play with his son. I just kind of wish it wasn't the Lakers. You know what I mean? Like that's how I feel about it.
It's cool to see it in Cleveland.
Yeah, I just don't want to see it here, but whatever. It's cool. It's cool. It's
fun.
Yeah, you know, good for that family. I mean, considering where LeBron came from and stuff, I think it's pretty cool. So,
and that's just the baseball podcast, ladies and gentlemen. That's Deferred Collusion Pod. Please like us, subscribe us, and give us a little insight into what you want to hear. Some of the DMs have been insulting. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
going it no, but some great takes as well. Jesse Rowe, it's been a pleasure, dude. I love doing this with you.
I do too.
I'm Branden Bullinger. This is Deferred Collusion. Anything on the way out, Jay?
No, I'm just looking forward to the next month because we got trade deadline coming up. We're going to be covering a lot of like who should teams be trading for, so that'll be a lot of fun. Those will be some good discussions, and I think that like the stories are really going to heat up over the next few weeks. So I'm looking forward to it.
Love that, dude. Jesse, love you. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us, and enjoy your 4th of July weekend. Yay, America.
Oh, yeah. We didn't do our Captain America thing. Oh, well.
Didn't. I was bummed. I wanted to, but I felt like you weren't feeling it. You're my communist guy, dude.
All right.
Red blood.
All right. In honor. All right, here we go. In honor of 4th of July.
Deferred Collusion.
Yeah. In honor of 4th of July, who is the Captain America of baseball?
I mean, my gut wants to go to Mike Trout, but if you remember, I put a stipulation on this question, and it was they have to be an current active MLB player. Who is Captain America? Man. Is it Nolan Arenado?
No. I think you got to be good still.
Oh, God. It's got to be Aaron Judge then, dude.
Sorry, that was mean. Bryce Harper is my answer.
Fuck, that's the right answer.
Yeah, I think it's Bryce Harper, Captain America of baseball.
We're gonna recast like Captain America, Winter Soldier, whatever. It's Bryce Harper.
There you go.
Damn, you're right.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, shots fired at Nolan Arenado for no reason at all. But you know, that was
Bryce. Thank you for all you do for this country. We love you. Get well soon, sir. And John Cena, thank you.
Yes. Thank you, John Cena.